What happens when the world's fastest man reaches out to Africa's youngest revolutionary leader? A simple letter that changed the course of history. Have you ever wondered what would happen if global sports icons used their platform for something bigger than endorsements? Something that could reshape international relations? Today, we're diving into the extraordinary correspondence between Jamaica's Olympic legend Usain Bolt and Burkina Faso's military leader Ibrahim Traore that sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles worldwide. At 36, Captain Ibrahim Traore is the world's youngest president, leading Burkina Faso since 2022 after a military coup. Known for his bold stance against foreign interference and commitment to his nation's sovereignty, Traore has become a symbol of a new generation of African leadership. Meanwhile, Usain Bolt, the 8-time Olympic gold medalist, has been channeling his fame into philanthropy, recently donating millions to support young athletes in Jamaica through his foundation, continuing his legacy beyond the track. Their unexpected connection, beginning with a handwritten letter, sparked a partnership that's transforming one of Africa's most challenged nations. By the end of this video, you'll discover how this unlikely alliance is reshaping diplomatic norms and creating real change on the ground. If you're fascinated by unexpected alliances that change the world, hit that like button and subscribe to Magnificent Story for more eye-opening political revelations. The lightning-fast rise to global fame and the unexpected ascent to national leadership, two journeys that would eventually intersect in ways no one could have predicted. Born in Trelawney Parish, Jamaica, our Olympic legend transformed from a cricket-loving child into the most decorated sprinter in history. His dominance at 3 consecutive Olympic Games, 2008, 2012, and 2016, rewrote the record books, with the 100 meters world record of 9.58 seconds standing unchallenged since 2009. Beyond his athletic prowess, his charismatic personality and signature lightning bolt pose made him a global marketing phenomenon worth over $90 million. But beneath the commercial success lies a lesser-known passion. Growing up in post-colonial Jamaica instilled in him a deep interest in independence movements across the African diaspora. Through his foundation established in 2010, he began quietly supporting educational initiatives across the Caribbean and Africa, particularly focusing on regions struggling with post-colonial identity. Meanwhile, in landlocked Burkina Faso, a young military officer was witnessing his nation's deteriorating security situation. Born in 1987, the military captain rose through the ranks of Burkina Faso's armed forces before leading the September 2022 coup that ousted interim leader Paul-Henri Damiba, who himself had taken power in a coup earlier that year. At just 34, he became the world's youngest head of state, inheriting a nation in crisis. Nearly 40% of Burkina Faso's territory had fallen under control of various armed groups, with over 2 million citizens internally displaced. His rise to power coincided with growing anti-Western sentiment across the Sahel region. He quickly made headlines by demanding the withdrawal of foreign troops, pivoting toward alternative security partnerships, and championing resource nationalism, policies that resonated with a population frustrated by years of foreign presence without improved security. The geopolitical context of his leadership cannot be overstated. Burkina Faso sits at the epicenter of a regional security crisis, with armed groups exploiting porous borders, ethnic tensions, and climate-related resource conflicts. The nation's rich gold deposits and strategic location make it a focal point in the competition for influence in West Africa. These two men, separated by continents, cultures, and circumstances, were about to forge an unexpected connection. The pivotal moment occurred during a quiet evening at the sprinter's Kingston residence in early 2023. Scrolling through international news, the Olympic champion paused at footage showing crowds celebrating in Ouagadougou's central square, waving flags and holding signs demanding sovereignty. He suddenly became completely transfixed, recalls Marcus Reynolds, his longtime friend and political advisor. The television showed young Burkina Faso citizens cheering as their leader announced the departure of foreign military forces. He leaned forward and said, "This young brother is doing something revolutionary. He's standing up to centuries of exploitation." The images stirred something profound in the athlete. As a descendant of Africans brought to the Caribbean during the transatlantic slave trade, he had always felt a deep connection to the continent's ongoing struggles for true independence. "Many people don't realize how deeply he thinks about these issues," Reynolds explains. Growing up in Jamaica, he was immersed in discussions about colonialism, independence, and Pan-African solidarity. These weren't abstract concepts. They shaped his worldview. What began as casual interest quickly transformed into determination. After several days of research and reflection, the sprinter made an unprecedented decision. He would reach out directly to the young leader. He spent hours drafting that letter, says Amara Wilson, his personal assistant. He rejected help from his PR team. He said this needed to be authentic, from one Caribbean descendant of Africa to a son of the continent itself. The handwritten message, penned on personal stationery, required multiple drafts. The sprinter wanted to express admiration without seeming condescending, offer support without appearing to lecture. Once completed, the letter traveled through unconventional channels. Rather than standard diplomatic routes, the athlete leveraged connections through his foundation's African educational initiatives to ensure delivery directly to the presidential office in Ouagadougou. The letter arrived in February 2023, creating immediate intrigue within government circles. No one, least of all the sprinter himself, could have predicted the extraordinary response it would receive. In Ouagadougou's presidential palace, the arrival of the athlete's letter created immediate bewilderment among staff. Such correspondence from global celebrities was unprecedented. When the letter arrived, there was confusion at first, explains Colonel Amadou Diallo, one of the president's close advisors. "We receive diplomatic communications daily, but nothing from global sports figures. The captain was genuinely curious about why such a prominent figure would reach out." For 3 weeks, the letter remained unanswered as the young leader focused on pressing national security concerns. Armed groups controlled nearly 40% of the nation's territory, and thousands of civilians had been displaced by violence. The military captain was navigating complex relationships with neighboring countries while trying to stabilize a nation in crisis. Then came the response that would eventually stun millions worldwide. Rather than a formal diplomatic reply or brief acknowledgement, the Burkina Faso leader sent a comprehensive 10-page handwritten letter. In it, he detailed his vision for his country's future, invoking the legacy of Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader assassinated in 1987, who remains a Pan-African icon. He outlined economic development plans centered on local resource control and agricultural self-sufficiency. Most surprisingly, he invited the sprinter to visit as an honored guest and proposed a collaborative initiative, a sports development program for youth in conflict-affected regions, using athletics as a counter-recruitment tool against extremist groups. The captain spent 2 full nights writing his response, revealed Fatima Ouedraogo, his chief of staff. He said the sincerity deserved equal sincerity in return. He believed this could be more than symbolic. It could create tangible opportunities for our young people. When the Olympic champion received this extensive response, he was reportedly moved to tears. The depth and thoughtfulness, coming from a leader managing a nation in crisis, touched him profoundly. "I've never seen him react to correspondence like that," said Reynolds. "He kept saying, 'This man is fighting for his people's lives every day,' yet he took time to share his vision with me in such detail." The exchange might have remained private had it not been for an unexpected development that would soon thrust their correspondence into the global spotlight. 3 months after their correspondence became public, the Olympic champion made an unannounced arrival in Ouagadougou. Landing with a small delegation including sports development experts and investment advisors, he was received by the young captain at the presidential palace. Their first in-person meeting lasted over 4 hours, extending far beyond diplomatic protocol. Following these discussions, they appeared together before astonished journalists to announce the establishment of the Usain Bolt Youth Initiative, a program combining athletics training with education and entrepreneurship opportunities for young people in the country's conflict-affected northern regions. "This is not about politics," the sprinter told assembled media. "This is about creating pathways for young people who might otherwise be drawn into destructive paths. Every child deserves the chance to discover their talents and pursue their dreams, whether that's on the track or in any other field." Standing alongside him, the Burkina Faso leader spoke about the symbolic importance. When a global sports icon reaches out to one of the world's most challenged nations, it demonstrates that solidarity can transcend the usual power dynamics. This initiative represents cooperation that respects our sovereignty while addressing real needs. The initiative secured funding from various sources, including the athlete's personal foundation and several African business leaders inspired by the collaboration. Within its first year, the program established training centers in 5 cities and enrolled over 3,000 youth. Perhaps most significantly, the partnership inspired similar engagements between global cultural figures and African leaders, focusing on development initiatives rather than typical celebrity photo opportunities. A new model of substantive cross-cultural cooperation had emerged. 3 years after that initial handwritten letter crossed continents, the impact continues to reverberate beyond diplomatic circles. What began as a personal correspondence has transformed into a sustainable model for engagement between global icons and emerging nations. The Youth Initiative now operates in 17 centers across 3 countries, creating safe spaces where athletics serves as an entry point to education, community building, and opportunity. Independent evaluations show a 40% reduction in recruitment to armed groups in communities with active programs. For participants like 16-year-old Awa Kabore from Dori, the impact is deeply personal. "Before joining this program, I saw no future here," she explained after winning her regional championship. "Now I have goals beyond just surviving. When I run, I feel connected to something bigger than myself, to a vision of what our country can become." The initiative has become a case study in using athletics as a peace-building tool in conflict zones. Representatives from 12 nations have visited the flagship training center in Ouagadougou, adapting the model to their own contexts. Meanwhile, the friendship between the sprint champion and the young captain has evolved from formal correspondence to genuine collaboration. They meet quarterly to evaluate progress and expand programming, their initial connection having grown into mutual respect and shared purpose. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to see how unexpected connections can create real change. For more stories that reveal the hidden side of global politics, subscribe to Magnificent Story and hit that notification bell. The truth is always more fascinating than fiction.